First of all, what groups are most at risk for that? Are some people more at risk than others?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with the CDC. So they really wanted to emphasize it's people who are either older, say over 65, people who are immunocompromised, and compromised immune systems, or people who are pregnant. Those are the people who are most at risk. Most of us have immune systems that can handle this. You know, Listeria is kind of ubiquitous. It's in the soil, it's in the water, it's in decaying vegetables, and we may be exposed to it and have sort of some self-limited symptoms, including diarrhea, maybe nausea and vomiting, but we kick it out of our systems ourselves. The problem is in these immunocompromised people, it not only gets into the intestinal tract, but it can get into the bloodstream. Once it's in the bloodstream, it can actually go to the head. It can cause meningitis, encephalitis, and people can get really sick. Of the 33 people, of the 43 people who have been infected, there have been 3 deaths as of Friday.
Well, how did they even discover this? Because a lot of the symptoms you're mentioning could be anything, right?
Right. So it's kind of fascinating. It's like microbe hunters. The book that a lot of us doctors were wanting to be read as a kid. Back at the end of May, somebody got sick, and as all these cases start, it starts with that case report, that first person who eats something, gets sick, and now you have the FDA, the CDC, and the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, all trying to figure out, what did you eat? When did you eat it? I don't even remember what I had this morning for breakfast, right? And they have to go back and maybe something they ate a few days ago. And then they traced it. They were real detectives, so they found out that there were positive culture in unopened package of delicatessen meat that had liverwurst. One in Maryland, one in New York, and they said, okay, where did this come from? Boom, they traced it back to a facility in Virginia, and then they did the recall.
So what are the actual symptoms for people? Because they might have some of the symptoms that you just mentioned, but how is it actually diagnosed?
Yeah, well, the way you diagnose, it's very interesting because the tip of the iceberg is what we're seeing right now, right? There are probably a lot more people who do get infected, although it's not one of the most common infections in terms of gastroenteritis, but it does happen, and then we may not know about it. When we know about it is when somebody gets really sick. And when they get really sick, it's when it goes into the bloodstream and starts affecting other parts of the body. And the way they diagnose that can be through a blood culture. They can do a spinal tap. They can see abnormalities in the spinal fluid. They can even grow out some of the organisms there. And, it's a big deal when everybody is hospitalized with this who gets it. And they can be treated with antibiotics.
So it's just a course of antibiotics that they take them, and it's not
course of antibiotics, but you have to hand it. They're taking a lot of heat. These federal health organizations. You have to hand it to them. They got on it right away. There are 43 cases, which is a lot, but about 3 times that was with a cantaloupe outbreak in 2011, and there were 33 deaths back then. So you don't even think about these organizations and what they're doing when things go right. But when things go wrong, that's when they take a lot of heat. So I do hand it to them on this.
Yeah, in our last 15 seconds or so, has there been a response from Boars? What are they saying now?
I think that they've been very responsible from what I've been reading in terms of doing the recalls, and in an abundance of caution, actually recalling things above that. But remember, the CDC is saying, look, if you are in one of these high vulnerable groups, then you shouldn't eat sliced deli meat or even any deli meat that's even it's prepackaged, unless you preheat it to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or if it's steaming hot, make sure you let it cool. So that's very important. And for other people, obviously, there's a recall number, and I wanted to add that and have it on the screen. The prepackaged deli products that say EST 12612 or P12612 inside the USDA mark of inspection on the product labels, those are the ones that have been recalled. And hopefully it's up there on the screen too.
Yes, it is. All right. Dr. John LaPook, really good information. Thanks so much, Doctor.
Take care.